tell you that we have Lisa, Liz, Belle, and Josh. And that's the best way I'm going to do it. Is that better for you? That's better? All right. So you've got one microphone to share. So if you'd like to work your way along, you can introduce just a little bit about yourselves and what you do.
Okay, it's this one. So I'm Lisa. I am a family photographer. I've been a family photographer for 17 years, and I run a studio now in Melbourne. And we recently also branched out to just dogs, as well as families. So basically, our motto is: if it is a part of your family, or you consider someone your family, then we want to photograph you. So that's what I do. I've got various levels of staff over the years. At the moment, I've got one full-timer with me. So yeah, that's me.
I'm Liz. Sorry, I can't see you guys. I'm sure you've got this little my name's Liz. I have a company called Business One Stop Shop in Wales, and I help businesses to get started, and that's how I first met Mark. Mark came in from Bows way back in the day, and it helped him build his website, so that's how I got to know Mark. I'm not a photographer, but that's my business.
Amazing. Hello, I'm Belle V. I'm a brand photographer, ex-birth photographer, ex-drummer, long walks along the beach, all the things, and I'm currently doing a 1-year buy nothing new, which is really, really hard when you're an ex-sneaker addict.
I'm Josh. I run a branding and marketing studio together with my wife, and we help businesses ditch the growing pains to break into that next level of businesses. We work with a lot of business owners to elevate the brand so they can attract top-tier clients and scale themselves up.
All right, fantastic. Just to go over how this will work tonight, if you've not been to previous Let's Get Down to Business events, I'm going to be aiming a question at each of our speakers. They will get the opportunity to talk about that question, give advice, and then it's going to open up to the other three speakers. If they've got, if they don't want to add anything to it, then we'll go straight to you guys. Keep it on the topic that we're talking about to start with, and then once we've done, we'll move on to the next one. Once we've done a couple of the big questions, that's when we'll have the break. Afterwards we've done that, I've got a fifth question that I'm going to open up to all the speakers, and then of course you can jump in and ask questions. And once we've done that, free for all. Ask whatever questions you've got on your mind, and hopefully the four of these will be able to offer some advice for you. All right, so the first one. So I think we can all agree that customer service is king. The last thing any business owner wants is a bad review on Google. So Liz, how do you ensure a positive client experience throughout the entire process of your business, or any business really?
And I think it's, you can't always please everybody, and you've probably all been there, where there's someone you just can't please, and they're the one you're really not really sorry, I don't think we've got that there, let's move on. But let's just say you've got those out of the way. I think the best thing to do is think what you would want in that situation. So I think it's a lot of managing expectations. This is what's included, this is what isn't included, this is what's going to happen, this is what you need to come with, all of those kind of things. I say to quite a few of my clients, your reputation is your most important asset. Protect it at all costs. It's worth sometimes having to just go, you know what, you're right, I'll do the thing you want to do and then we'll part ways. Much as I don't tend to sort of stick with, we know it, we're in the right, but sometimes it's just not worth it. And you just want to get people out the door as quickly as possible and get on with your life and just put a little note, I'll probably won't work with them again. And I think that's much better if you do come in any kind of conflict of just getting it resolved as soon as possible. ages ago, someone gave me, do you call them acronyms? It's DEARD. And it's a way of dealing with conflict. If you do have someone who's arguing with you and you're really coming up against them, and I'll probably forget this now, but it was detach. So try to take the emotions out of it. That's one that I think I struggled with when I was practicing this, and that has come across in the past. You know, everyone's got their own stuff going on. It might not be anything to do with us. We just happen to be in the firing line. So the first thing is just detach your emotions, take a step back, take a breath. And then E, empathise. So let's see it from their point of view. Can I understand why this misinterpretation has happened? You know, is there something I could have done different, like maybe making my T's and C's more clear and concise, or more in their face? And then A is acknowledge. I'm really sorry this has happened. I really do pride myself on being a great service to everybody, but I can see where you're coming from. And then R, resolve. So what can I do to make this better for you? What can I do to make you happy? And as I said, it usually does mean making a compromise. It is much more worth. In fact, it was Kelly, I think, who told a story a few years ago about she was really good at turning around people who she might have had a conflict with, but she able to turn it round in such a positive way. They went on to then be some of their highest spending clients. And I think that's the thing. Sometimes if people is making a bit of a fuss about what we might still say, they don't really need to make that much of a fuss. It might be because something else is going on in their lives, and that's the way that they're reacting to things at the moment. So if we can react to them in a more empathetic way, then that might be something that they really need to experience that day, and they're going to be grateful to us for that professionalism and that empathetic understanding, not just going, "You're crazy, get out." So that can really, you can really turn around a difficult situation like that and make it into a positive one where you've got another friend on your side. And if you really, they're not going to work out, just do, what can I do to help you get out of my face as quickly as possible? That's what we're going to do. See you later. Have a nice life.
Anyone else have anything to add to that?
I would just sort of emphasise that. I know my industry, I'm in the business of family photography. Nobody needs that. When people look at their photos, they want to feel joy and happiness. They don't want to think about that cranky photographer that had a bad day, made me feel bad for saying that's expensive, or hang on, I didn't order that print, which they definitely did, or why did you retouch my arm off because I didn't want an arm in that photo. Because I've never heard the deer before, but it's exactly like that. We have a policy in our studio that the customer is always right. If I get something that triggers me, I will not reply to it till the next day. And lately, I write it and then I put it into Claude, which I've been using just like a chat GPT, and I say, this is my reply to this situation. Can you tell me if it's very good from, I do not want to place blame on the client, I want to show empathy, and Claude will even zhuzh it up even more, and then it will go back to them, or I'll try and pick up the phone and speak to them. So I will spend money, I will replace, I will refund, I will try some other steps first, but ultimately, if somebody has had a bad experience with me and they said they want their $3,000 back, in the end, if that's what they insist on and we can't come to a different thing, that's what they're going to get. So don't know and ask for feedback, but I know for my business, I'm in the business of selling happy memories and love. So I need to make sure that their experience with me is the same. I know last year I had the opposite of Belle. I'm in the year of buying all of the things because I'm building a house and renting and children, and it just seems like everything's this. But I was a bit tired, and I was not that, I wasn't rude, but I wasn't empathetic to a client who wanted to wait 3 months before looking at their photos and deciding what they wanted. And I was like, no, that's not quite how we work. You need to come in and then decide, and you can, if you want to pay in 3 months, that's fine. And they came back and they were really upset. They said I'd soured their entire experience for them. And it was a really good wake-up call for me, because I'm not that kind of a person. I do not have that kind of reaction with people. So it was, I thought they got the worst of me, because of things that were happening outside of my life, and it reminded me that for 17 years that's not how I've run my business, and why did I happen to do that to this poor person who was quite reasonable. So yeah, I just, in my field, what you just said is 100% the way I operate. I would, hopefully it doesn't get to that, and it doesn't. It's like 0.5% of the clients that might have an issue, but if there is, then I'm going to have to see it from their point of view, and even if I lie through my teeth and go, I'm so sorry, we'll try and do better, or we'll tell you 15 times how much this costs you. But I won't do CASAT, I won't do that to them. But yeah.
I just want to add, if sometimes you just need to let them, like you need to let people do and say whatever they're going to say, because you cannot control how anyone else is going to react about whatever it is. And if you feel really confident in your images and your T's and C's and all of that, some of the best businesses have actually made like a 1 Google review. The answer has actually been so good that's made me want to book them. So don't actually be that scared of a 1-star Google review, because it actually you can turn that around with however you respond to that really bad review. So
Actually, on that note as well, I've had quite a few, I know, in fact, I even have friends saying, oh, if they do this thing for my client, I keep bringing me invisible, they're going to leave a bad review. And I'm like, let them do that. Don't let anyone ever blackmail you over review. Let them do it, and like I say, it's how we respond to it, which is far more important. Because I think now, when we see some of those bad reviews, we sort of say, well, they look like they're having a bad day that day, or they sound like they're a really difficult client. But it's how we react to it. If we ask us, like, that happened, do you want to come take us offline, let's have a chat, that makes such a difference. If you go on, you're like, I have to do it, see you later. So yeah, definitely don't let anybody blackmail you into leaving bad review.
Fantastic. I think it reminds me of that. There's a meme I saw. It was a cafe had taken they put a sign out in the front of their cafe and it said, "Come and try the worst coffee," like on that someone's gave them on Google or something like that. Right? So they turned a bad review around into a marketing thing, which I thought was just fantastic. That is. Any questions?
Has anybody had any experiences that they've come across recently and they're not sure if they could have done it differently?
Never happens to me, but saying what you just said, would you try and rectify things outside of you, like personally, and see where they're at, or would you just
Do you mean if someone's left a bad review? Yeah, I would say please get in touch, or I'll drop you an email separately and we'll see what we can do about this. I'm really sorry this happened and that you felt bad enough to leave this. There have been a couple of times that I've responded to bad reviews and they've said, oh, they shut us out of the workshop because we were 5 minutes late, and then I have responded saying, I'm really sorry, we've actually never ever shut anybody out for being 5 minutes late, but the day you're talking about, 2 people were 40 and 35 minutes late. Yeah, so I have responded that, I suppose that is a bit of a I'm like, I'm not having that.
I have something to add to that. I think picking up the phone also works a lot for me. I think people behind the keyboard can be a lot angrier than over the phone or in person. So I find sometimes if someone sends me an angry email, I'll call them, and they seem to calm down a little bit, and we can work things out a lot easier that way.
Yeah.
Got lost for a second there. Okay.
There's a question.
Sorry, go for it. Yes. Sorry.
I just wanted to expand on that and talk about such great topics. Would you say that obviously what is actually like a little bit very like empathy based, very customer facing, very involved with clients, that it's more complicated to embrace like maybe what they might see as a mistake and then just try and fight
Yeah, definitely definitely that concept of putting your ego aside, or putting my ego aside, was definitely the starting point, that detached sort of section. But yeah, you're absolutely. It took me a few years to kind of learn this in business, but it's definitely better for the small percentage of people that you might have an issue with, just to make them as happy as possible and then distance, rather than going backwards and forwards. And I've seen this with a couple of clients where they've gone backwards and forwards with one of their clients, and it's turned into this huge thing, and people have threatened court and left reviews, and it's been hideous, whereas they could just turn around in the first place and say, I'm really sorry that happened, what can I do to fix it? But they were just determined to be right, and that just doesn't help anybody, I think.
I just did one follow-up on that.
Yeah.
Just that you said that, I think the dark being there is about emotional attachment is kind of that first step.
Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
first. And take a day to learn what acts on radar. But can I just ask if you guys have, like your top tips, if that takes a while, what's the main thing that you learn to attach that first step?
Really good question. For me, it's just really reminding myself that it's nothing personal, or it's likely, hopefully, nothing personal, and even if it is, it's too late now to do much about that particular thing. And it's just about learning for the next time, and maybe recognising the signs earlier that this wasn't going to work out. I think just that trying not to take it personally, and it's practice. I think when I first started out doing this 20 years ago, it was easy to go, well, I'm really good, you can't say that about me. Whereas I mean, no, it might not be about me, or I might just not be a fit. My talents maybe aren't a fit for what they're looking for, and that's fine. Yeah.
I think it's hard, particularly in the trade, but a lot of photography as well, because it's personal, it's your work, and it's really hard. I know clients, they don't even realise, if they don't reply after I send their gallery and tell me that it's amazing, that I assume that they hate it and that they're lying on the floor crying. They don't understand how precious we are. But you kind of have to, and it's part of that let them theory, which is the buzzword at the moment. I try not to, and I think a lot of it just comes with age and experience, and some people are just great at it. But I certainly could feel all the feels really deeply. And now if I need to vent, I will vent to my partner, I'll vent to my staff, we'll have a little bit of an internal, very private, phones off, nobody hearing bitch session, and get it out that way. But I will not do it in front of another client, to a client. I will never be that photographer that you see go on a rant in their stories or write a long anthology essay. I don't feel that that reflects well on you. I know as a client, I'd be like, oh my God, what are they saying about me? Is that going to be me? So I think we're all only human. We are not going to get, we're not going to gel with everybody. You really, and certainly the bigger my business has got, so sadly, the bigger it gets, the more often this happens. It goes from once a year to twice a year to once a month. You might get the odd person that just isn't happy about something, and 99% of the time we've turned it around and they're happy, they're raving fans, and as I said, sometimes it is me, and they've been right to call me out, and I will own that 100%. I'm never backwards and saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I went wrong. But just to detach, take time. If you need to vent privately with someone in your circle, go on a run or a walk and scream in the air. But if it is someone who just wants to be angry and cranky, and there are people like that at certain stages, they're like, you win nothing by venting to them. You're not going to win, they're going to come up with something else, and all you're going to do is like more stress on you, more angst on you, and that's not good for you. So sometimes not being right, and if I could lean that onto my teenager, that would be great. Sometimes not being right is actually the right thing for you too.
Are we all happy with that? No more questions? Want to move on? That was fantastic, that was. So great discussion there. All right, so move on to the
Hey, hang on a
second
sec, Mark. I've just got to reset this.
question. Please. Thank you. All right, so my next question is, the idea of being a working photographer is often seen as romantic because it can evoke a sense of adventure, creativity and freedom. when in reality we spend more time at the computer than actually with a camera. Lisa, with that in mind, what are the most important qualities you think a successful business owner should cultivate?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with something that really ties into what we just spoke about. Particularly in my field, you need to like people. You need to be interested in people, and you also need to like dogs. Doesn't mean you need to like everybody, but I know part of our lead-up question to people when they come in is, have you had a professional photography session before? How did you feel about that? And some of the stories we hear about how some of them being spoken to and treated to with disdain is shocking. But ultimately, if I didn't like seeing people and being with people, this wouldn't be a good business for me to be in operationally. So if you don't like people, get staff who like people pretty quickly. And then you move in and you do the business side of it, and you might do that really, really, really well. And you do the marketing and you do the behind the scenes and you do all of that. So that's number one for me, is I'm in a luxury service, so I need to like people, I need to be interested in people, and I need to know to fake it on the days that I'm having a shit day, so it doesn't come out like it did at the end of last year. You need to be realistic that not every photo shoot is going to be a creative, or needs to be, or even should be, an award-winning creative masterpiece. People are coming to you for what they see, and what they see is the same over and over and over and over and over and over again. They want your reliability and your predictability of what you are giving out to them. So be happy and comfortable with that. If you need to feed your creative beast, reserve 5 or 10 minutes at the end of each session to do something really cool with those clients that are over it and that are totally with it. And that can be a lot of fun too. You need to be, I guess people say successful business owners need to, exude some kind of confidence. But in my experience, that as important, or probably more important than that, is also acknowledging that I don't know everything and I don't know how to do everything well, and I'm not the best at everything. So throughout the entire time of my 17 years in business, I've always sought help. So I have someone who might help me with my marketing. I have someone who might help me with my business skills. When I first went out and got a lease, I went and spoke to someone who was an expert in commercial leases. If something isn't working, I've also got a peer group of people who have similar types of businesses around the country and internationally, and we talk to each other about it and throw things off. But I kind of assume that I am not the expert in anything, and that if I can find an expert in it who can help me or guide me, then I'll do that. And I'm also at the stage in my business where if I can find someone who does it better than me, it might be more cost effective for me to hire them to do it a lot of the time. So up until this year, we had someone doing our phone calls, booking people in, because I can do them, but I don't love it. I might love people and I might like talking to people, but just common term these days, my social battery drains. And I'll go home and my family they'll get in the shit end of it, because I've spoken to people all day and I've been talking all day on the shoots. So having someone do the phone calls meant that I acknowledged that took one element of people facing out of it for me, and I could just bring my energy to that and then still have some energy for my family at home. I've learned, and on that I've been in tune to who I am. So I've learned that despite that I've got a full-time business, I've learned to batch my work so that I have 2 days where I don't do people. Because while I love people, if I do people every day, I don't love them anymore. I want to go into my room and read a book and not talk to anybody. So that for me has been a real eye-opener. So for the last, I think that's what went wrong last year, was that a lot of things happened with building a house and life, and I didn't get those days with some regularity, and I just became not a very, so it didn't work. So that was like, fix that. So this year the rule is back in place. Lisa doesn't do people on Mondays or Wednesdays. That's a hard rule. It doesn't sound right, does it? I don't do people. But it's kind of like that. So, acknowledge what your strengths are, and just be aware that it doesn't all need to be creativity. You need to make something that's repeatable and bankable. I don't want to take your photos for the pleasure of it. I don't want to take your photos for the joy of it. I want to take your photos to pay my mortgage, to go on holidays, to buy cool stuff. I want to live, and I want to build a house. I want to make money, and that's not a dirty word. It's absolutely okay for me to be in this to support my family. For most of the last 15 years, I've been the primary income earner in my house. So it has been that I've had to do that. And I'm unapologetic about that. And even I do a lot of charity-based marketing, and I'm unapologetic to the people who go, oh my God, why do you want us to actually purchase? Aren't you fundraising? I said, absolutely I want you to purchase, because that keeps me in business, so that I can keep raising $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 every year. If I'm not in business, that money doesn't get raised. So, but it's taken me a long time to get the confidence to say to people that, and most people get it. Most people out there understand how things work, and we don't hide, we don't bait switch. That's not okay. But I'll be open to people. Look, we need you to come in. If you don't love it, do not buy it. And this is how much it's going to cost if you do, so they know from the start. But if you don't think this is for you and you don't think you're going to purchase at the end, we're going to wait list you on this project. And if we have enough spaces, we'll put you in. Oh, so you don't want me if I'm not going to spend? Like, well, no, because I need to be in business so I can keep raising money and I can pay my staff. I try not to say pay my staff and feed my family, because I think sometimes that feels a little bit, I think it's enough to say so I can stay in business and keep raising money. I think, and it's authentic and it's real. So don't be afraid of making money. Don't feel that because you enjoy parts of your job, you shouldn't be getting paid. That's rubbish. You should be spending your time with your family and your friends, or reading your favourite book, or doing a puzzle, or going for walks on the beaches. You shouldn't be doing things for other people constantly. Having said that, there's going to be elements that I would do in certain circumstances. I'm not all money. But I'm not afraid of being paid for what I do, or saying no if someone wants me to do something for exposure or for other things. I mean, look, I've already done $15,000 worth of charity this year. I don't have capacity right now. I've waffled a bit. So what have I said? Like people, be humble, ask for help, hire what you're not very good at, acknowledge your weaknesses. My weakness is if I seem too many people constantly talk, I'm not a nice person, so balance that out. And that last thing that I said, which I've already forgotten. Don't be afraid to get paid for what you do. It is why we are in business. It is why we are not a hobby. And it is also okay for this to be a hobby. That's 100% okay. I love, I'm about to have some free time and I'm going to have to find a hobby. It used to be photography, but I'm thinking it's going to be something else now. At the moment I'm leaning to puzzles. If anyone's got any ideas, let me know.
Anyone else?
What's the quality to make a good business person?
Yes. Yeah. What are the most important qualities you think a successful business owner should cultivate? So not already have, but they should work on, basically.
I have something to say. It's not in direct relation to your question, but it's something that you touched on about, I think, being a creative. It's something that we love to do, and some people struggle with, oh, but can I charge for it because I'm enjoying myself? I think a lot of creatives have that kind of imposter syndrome, like, can I charge for something I love doing? I think if you're trying to get around that, think of the value you're bringing to other people, because that's where it's at. Like, if you're a family photographer, you're bringing someone happiness for years and years and years. So, yeah, like, flip it around. It's not just that you love what you do, it's what are you bringing to other people.
Yes.
You talked about the level of ownership, such as getting there to where it's done. Do you have any struggle, especially with the post kind of getting to that place and being okay with I'm not being creative, or this is not creative,
Yeah, definitely. And I still do. I shoot to sell, so I've learned that there's certain things that I have to do in every shoot, and some of them are really hard. And I've certainly found for me personally, which is why I used to be a really avid awards enterer, and I loved it, and I loved that it gave me the creative spark. But people who know me have noticed I've disappeared from that scene for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's purely because my personal side of life has gotten too busy that I'm exhausted, and I've actually gone full circle that the creative side of me, I'm like, I actually don't, I'm struggling to find it. So I've actually had to go the other way and make sure that what am I trying to say? So there's two ways. So in the early days, I would feed that creative spirit by entering the awards and doing all those sorts of things, because I really loved that side of things, and I would do that 10, 15 minutes at the end, and I had journals of all these amazing ideas I wanted to do with family photography, and I did a lot of them and I loved it. But then I entered a phase in my life in the last 3 or 4 years where I was just too mentally exhausted to do that. So just having a system of what I needed to photograph, still enjoying it, still getting it right, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say it's leveling up, and you know, if I get an amazing shot, I'm still like, yeah, nailed it. And if I feel that I've had a really crap shoot, I'll still walk in, I'll hand over my card, like, I didn't nail that one, don't look too closely. That was not very good. I still, to this day, if I get an email the day after someone has received their photos or coming to order their photos, because I do investment sales, my mind flips to, oh my God, they hated it, they changed their mind and they've now got the guts to ask. That is very rarely what they say. That maybe happens actually very rarely. But yeah, creatively, I think you just learn to practice, and it probably comes from realising how much time you're spending on something not making money, that you realise it's okay that you have to do. Yeah, am I answering your question? I feel I'm waffling a little bit here. Yeah, but yeah, so I would find that when I wanted that creativity, I would find it. And I actually oddly feel I'm coming to the end of that phase, and I'm starting to feel the creative juices run again. But I was okay. I was what I call being kind to myself, that for a few years, if I didn't feel that creativity, that was okay. So yeah, it's just being nice to yourself.
Anyone else have anything to add to that? Yeah, Natalie.
Just another sort of follow-up question to start with the outsourcing contractors, but I guess something that I struggle with as well. I recognize that I'm a little bit and flow, and sometimes that means that I don't listen to editing. But I also, been seeing people opening it like, oh, you have absolutely everything, just this job, that job, that job, that job. And I'm like, that's too many things. And like, does anyone have advice on maybe like understanding kind of how to approach outsourcing of that, or like how to start that process without
So I'm just going to say, what do you not like doing? What doesn't light you up? So what would that be? Okay, great. So have you tried a AI program like Imagine or Narrative or any of those? Yeah, so I would. That's the first thing I would probably do is train your bot up so it can actually edit in your style and you set your profile up. And that just. It actually, I don't know if you've used Imagine AI, but what it will do is send you how many hours you've saved at the end, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I've just saved 2 hours. So that has been a massive difference. I know a lot of other photographers will have in-house editors or someone that can do it. I have an operation business manager, and she actually edits for other photographers as well, so she'll charge an hourly rate and cull and edit. But I'm like, I've got a little bot that I can train up and do it. So yeah, I would probably say the first thing, if you're just starting out, it depends where you are in your business, and it depends on like your profitability, hard word. But I would always say just start with the little things. So a lot of people go, oh, you know, I can't hire a VA because I don't have 10 to 15 hours to give them $30 an hour or whatever it is. And I'm like, no, a lot of VAs will do 2 to 5 hours a week. And they're so easy to find. You can find them in a networking group or a Facebook group. You can ask friends or look on Fiverr. So I would just say things like that. So a lot of photographers who I mentor will say things like, I haven't set up my Studio Ninja or my CRM because I just don't know how to do it. And I don't have the time or capacity to sit there and learn it. And I'm like, a VA can literally do that in an hour. Set up your workflows and then it can work for you. So I would just Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah.
So what I would outsource straight away if I was just starting out is a graphic design, because no one likes just putting things together. If you don't know how to use, if you're not a graphic designer, please don't do it because it just looks shit. And you want to make sure, we're going to touch on this a bit later with the brand, but you want to make sure that your front of house looks so clean and polished that people will just be like, holy moly. And they've actually done studies, research suggests that people will actually invest more money if they believe that the business has actually invested money, if it looks like it's invested money. Yeah. So graphic designer, VA, they're my top outsourcing tips.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I'm guessing you're a solo printer at the moment?
Yeah, I do make videos.
Yeah, so it's just a lot to do, isn't there? Running a business and doing the work yourself. Because that was me for many years, and then when I got married, I got my wife to come on board, and just like our capacity has just exploded since then. Even just having one person to take on a little bit of that, and like you said, just the stuff you don't like to do. So I don't like emailing and talking to people. I think my average word count on my emails is 10 words. And then and she comes and types things out, and it's so, it just sounds so nice. There's so many words. I'm reading her emails, and I feel so cared for just reading her emails. It's like, can you take on all of that? Because I'm not good at it, and it's working out for us. Yeah.
Right, I was just going to follow up with that. So I find that most common thing is sometimes people have forums. I want to do that, I want to outsource, but my husband or whatever says, well, why would you pay somebody else $500 to do that edit or do the VA when you can just do it yourself? You can just answer the emails, it doesn't get that. How do you, as a business person, sit down and go, this is where I want time, is that a budget thing? Is that like a business practice?
You can look at how much that time is costing you. So like, how expensive are you? If you were to employ yourself, how much would that be costing you? And I think chances are hiring someone else is often cheaper than hiring yourself. And if you want the cheapest labor, a spouse is the cheapest. Love you.
I just wanted to add to that, it touched a little bit of a nerve on me as well, because when I started out in family photography back in the day, my husband, he was actually very supportive of me, but everyone else was like, well, you're not a real photographer because you don't shoot weddings, which didn't make a lot of sense. But is your husband in business with you, or just
No,
a supporter?
he isn't. And he is fine with it.
Yeah.
He just read everything. No, you could just be everything that yourself instead of like sending it to me.
So what made me go into, I know videography, and in fact it's probably worse from what I understand, editing videos is way more time intensive than editing photographs. So for me, I could edit all my work, or I could shoot 2 more portraits and make $4,000 more in a week. So the math there was really simple, and I still look at do the end editing, but also something that we haven't touched on here is you don't just have to outsource your business. So I had cleaning. So the first thing I did was get a cleaner. Right now we don't have one because we've got it in your house. I'm really traumatised by that. I had to do my own cleaning for a rental inspection on the weekend, and oh my god. But no, so the short story is don't just look at your business. So if you would rather sit there for 3 hours and edit than you would rather clean your house, hire someone to clean your house. If you would rather sit there for 3 hours and edit than drive your kids to school, and it's okay if that's what you would rather do, get someone to help you drive your kids to school. Look at what you would rather do and outsource the things that you don't want to do. And it might not always be, it might give you more time, because it might spark joy for you to sit there with podcasts on and edit for a 1-day week. That might be your time in your head. But if it's not, weigh up what you could you get and do an extra job a week if you weren't doing all that editing, and how much more would that mean to your bottom line?
Yeah, so I usually go, is this a $20 task or is this a $200 task? And that's how I work out where I'm going to be spending my money. And there's a thing called insourcing. So there's outsourcing, but there's also called insourcing. So has anyone heard of that? Okay, so insourcing, so I have teenagers, and my insourcing is empty the dishwasher, hang the washing, do the vacuum cleaning and things like that. So I'm insourcing and basically working out that I've got more time to be able to spend on the things that I want to do as well. So another thing that people will say to me is, I don't have childcare or I can't afford childcare. And I'm like, do you have another mate that's got kids that you can just dump them for a family shoot? You go out and do that, and then next night they can have your kids or you have their kids and that sort of thing. So it's about being creative and coming up with some innovative solutions to try and work out, even if you don't have money, can you collab, can you swap services, that sort of thing as well. That's what I did when I first started out, swapped photography services for graphic design or, all of that. So,
Fantastic.
I heard a bell, so.
Oh, did you? I didn't.
Yeah.
Alice, that's my timer to check that.
Oh, you checked it. Well, that's perfect if you want to stop.
Okay.
What we'll do is actually, because we're about halfway with the main question. Let's get on to the third question I've got for everyone. Right. Branding seems to be the buzzword in our industry. The concept has expanded beyond just logos and slogans to encompass broader elements like brand story, emotional connection, and reputation. Belle, what are the best practices for building a strong brand identity?
Hello, thank you. I think we're going to share this one as well because you have a lot to say on them, and so we can chat about this. I've got notes because I have an ADHD brain, so I will waffle on for hours if I'm given a microphone and no notes. So yeah, as a brand photographer, but even as a photographer, it's so important to build yourself up not only as your company or the photography business or videography business that you're creating, but also to create connection with your audience as a personal brand. And I know when I first started, the last thing I thought my audience wanted was to see my mug on stories or on lives. Does anyone remember Instagram lives? IGTV, that's what they got rid of. Yeah, remember those? And I just remember I started off my business, I won't go into my backstory, but I started my business in 2011 as a birth photographer, and at the time there was literally less than 10 birth photographers in the whole of Australia. So that was amazing because it was not very saturated. But I remember having to go and meet clients, having really long conversations. I'm Italian, so of course I'm buying the coffee and then I'm like, you want cake? And all of this. So it was like a lot of time spent doing that. And I realised it's because they are spending so much money with me, but also a really intimate, vulnerable, session. So they wanted to make sure they felt safe with me. And I realised as soon as I started showing up a little bit more online, showing my face, doing a sizzle reel, making sure that I was connecting with them, sharing my why, my values, a little bit behind the scenes, like my quirkiness, all of the things, people started sliding into my DMs or emailing me going, oh, are you free October? I'm pregnant, I'd love to book you for birth photography. And I was like, do you want to meet me? And they're like, oh no, I feel like I've already met you. I feel like I know you. And it was like the penny dropped because here I am hiding behind my camera thinking no one wants to know what I sound like or all the things. And the ironic thing was I was saving so much time, energy, and also with anxiety and ADHD, the last thing you need is to be sitting across from someone and feel like you're in an interview and your mind's racing going, oh my God, does the husband like me? I don't know, are they gonna want me in the birth space? Am I saying too much? Am I saying not enough? and it literally would just drive me through the roof. So show up on social media. You can learn new things if you find Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, but Pinterest is more of a Google search engine. All the things, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. I don't think I answered your question, Mark.
That's all right. Keep going.
The importance of branding. Okay. Does anyone have a question first? Because I could literally talk about this all day. Hi.
Well, on that topic of showing your putting yourself out there,
Yes.
I think probably the most platform at the moment is TikTok. I feel so old and completely like out of touch with TikTok and like discussing everything on TikTok. And then everyone's like, no, you need to get on TikTok and like put yourself out there. And I guess I've started to explore it as a medium of maybe a way to show more personality on that more than Instagram's kind of more like professional, smooth pictures. How would you say, I guess, how does TikTok play into that research as beyond say out there or Instagram's part of that?
So my question to you is, what do you feel really comfortable with, and where's your audience? So are they on TikTok? Where are people finding you? So do you know where they're coming from, your clients?
I don't know, and that's probably also something where I'm a little bit unsure where I'm going. Well, is TikTok and putting myself so at the moment I'm exploring a very smooth professional on Instagram, and I'm being more like, hey, what's up? Like, what are you getting for the day on TikTok, and trying to show personality and being more loosey-goosey with it. But I'm also going, well, is that just catering to a real middle market? And I want to aim for a higher end market.
Yeah.
This service, or is that service something where, yeah, when those clients want to come and they want to just see more of my personality, it does go to my brand because TikTok in and of itself is brand new way that you go to understand and kind of see more of your side of that person.
Okay, so life is full of contradictions, and I am all for breaking the rules. So I'm always going to say to you, whatever feels really easy for you. We're all so busy, we're at capacity, we have so many things going on in our lives. So my first thing is, where are your clients, where are they finding you, and what's working? And there is a model that has been basically proven to work. So I'm going to share it really quickly, and I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but hopefully it does. Basically, there is a model where if you want to make $1 million in 1 year, you have one audience, which is why everyone's like niche down, one audience, speak to one person. Then you have one product, so you only offer photography, let's say. So you're not doing pet photography, brand photography, wedding photography, all the things, because we just want to specialize in one thing, right? And then we have one marketing platform. So we're just going to really do emails really well, or we're just going to do Google ads, or we're going to do Facebook ads, or whatever it is. And then there's the fourth one, which I might have to get back to you guys. And then it's 1 year. So it's like this amazing Taki Moore, does anyone know the coach Taki Moore? Okay, hey, I will get back to you guys, because it's a really cool 5-thing triangle. And that's just something that I'm working on right now, is to really niche down and know my ideal clients so well, and I'm not doing all of these other millions of things, because we can do that, but it's going to take more time to actually have the earning capacity to earn like whatever it is. And so I always think about like the medical professional. Like if you are sick, you go see your GP. But if there's something really wrong with your heart, you go and see a cardiologist, right? And so that's kind of what worked for me in my business when I was a birth photographer, because people would be like, do you do christenings? I'm like, no. Do you do weddings? I'm like, no. And I just kept going until people were like, oh, I need a birth photographer. And it's like, yeah. And so it really worked for me, and that's what I'm doing now. I've started again. Basically, I've just started being a brand photographer, and I'm already ranking, if you search Perth brand photographer, I'm ranking like second. It's like, Jasmine Skies, #1. I'm like, she's not even a brand photographer, she's an underwater photographer. I actually told her the other day, I was like, Jazz. She's like, oh my God. I know. That's a show at website, everyone, and she does really good SEO. Okay, I have, see, this is what happens.
That's okay.
Anyone else neurospicy around here?
Jasmine also ranks high because she won Professional Photographer of the Year last year's All Off Awards.
That's right. Shout out. Mark, are you taking new memberships at the end of this? Okay. How about, did you want to add something, Liz? Okay.
It was about being on all different platforms, but really focusing on where your audience is, where they're really going to look for you, where they're going to see you. And it's much better to have 1 or 2 platforms that you do really well than have 6 and you do it badly and it damages your brand. So I'm thinking about getting rid of Instagram. I've looked at you're asking like which ones are really working for you. I look at stats on my website analytics, and it tells me where the sources come from, what the sources of the people coming to me. And for me, Instagram, I'm not talking about Instagram, so that's why, but for me, I get nothing from Instagram, but I get quite a lot from Facebook, because I do put lots of posts in Facebook groups, like girl bosses and things, and Google searches. So I know that's where I need to put all the effort into, and I'm going to do Instagram.
With what Liz was saying, I always try and think, like, how can I work smarter, or how can I knock off a few extra ones? So I think we mentioned this before, if you post to Instagram, it automatically can post to Facebook. So that's what I do, and it hasn't hurt my business. And then also when it comes to branding, I mean, any photography business, you want to make sure that you are setting out email marketing, making sure you're really connecting with people that way. So yes, I've got notes galore, and I still can't remember the question. Brand.
Just anything about branding. Yeah.
Anything about brand. So I want you to consider that when we think about brand, we think about our logo, we think about our fonts, we think about the colours, right? And our brand is so much more than that. It's how we show up, it's our tone of voice, it's our personality, and it's about our brand values as well. Like the first thing that I do every time I have a different leg or I move into different genres is I hire a brand strategist, and we sit down and we write down everything about my brand. So it's the words that I use, the words I don't use, it's my tone of voice, it is my mission, my values, my why, my impact, it's my legacy, like all of those things. So I can then give that to a graphic designer, or I can give it to any staff that I onboard, and I go, this is what the company is about, this is what I'm about, this is what we do, this is what we don't do. And kind of what Lisa was saying before with her team, it's like how we show up. And I'm not talking about just when we're online or when we go to a networking event, it's like all the fucking time, right? So how do you want to be perceived? Because unfortunately, we still live in a society where we judge people, right? We judge a book by its cover. And I often say, like, think about if 2 people were talking about your brand or who you are, because a lot of us are solo business owners, what would they be saying about you, right? What would they be saying about your brand? Are they saying that you're warm, out there, quirky, approachable, professional, all of those things? And so maybe write some of those down. And if you're not sure where to start, you can actually train like ChatGPT up, or you can hire a copywriter or a brand strategist to kind of go through it with you and start that way. But yeah, I froth branding. I think it's really, really important. And something on that is just really align with people who have the same values as you as well. Don't just take collaborations because you know, they're offering you a free XYZ, make sure that it's really, really aligned, because as soon as you align with someone else or another company, if they fuck up, it's your fuck up too, right? And we said this right at the very beginning, your reputation is everything. And we're in Perth. Perth is like a big country town. If you stuff up, you are not going to have a future in this industry. And I know that sounds really harsh, but a lot of us have been around for years and years and years, and it's because we are professional, we show up, we have integrity, we do what we say we're going to do. Yeah. Does anyone want to add on to all of that?
Go ahead.
Questions?
Another question. So when you say as a brand you're always on. So how do you blend that? How do you being authentic? You know, that you kind of have your brand being authentic, that it steps out, that you don't make yourself out being someone you actually are not.
So, would you say that my brand's authentic?
Honestly. But what
Yeah.
would you tips like for other people? How can you stay on brand, still
Yeah.
being yourself and not feel the pressure that your business might be something that you have in your head rather than what it actually can be? You know?
So, are you saying sort of like my first rule in anything, life or business, is don't be an arsehole. So, I guess that is where I'm thinking, like, have humility. It doesn't matter how many awards you win, it doesn't matter how much money you've got in the bank, like, be a good human being, and that's going to transfer. But in terms of like having an authentic business, and then are you getting mixed up with how you dress, or is that kind of, because you can be authentic. I shop all the time, like this morning I did an Instagram story of me walking with no makeup on, for example. So part of my brand is being unapologetically myself, which means that I am a mum, I'm a daughter, I have all of these other little things that I do. So my brand, even though I might rock up like this now, I'm still being me throughout my whole, like, whether you see me in person. And a lot of people will say, oh my gosh, you're exactly like you are online. So I just want to also put it out there to everyone. This is what I was thinking about today. I might directly walk. Is that a lot of people will talk about imposter syndrome. And I think of imposter syndrome as not being authentically yourself. It's when you are holding back your voice, when you think your words don't matter, or that you're shrinking yourself to fit in. You're saying yes when you actually want to say no, or you're saying no when you actually want to say yes. And I'm like, how are you living your life if you're not being authentic to yourself? So I'm just sharing that, because that was my thoughts when I was walking around Lake Mungo today. Does that answer your question, JR? Do you have another question that could quantify it then? Or Lisa wants to go?
I probably didn't ask the question in the right way. It's just when I heard you say, like you're always your brand, you're always on. And when, like I'm around for long enough not to worry about it, I'm comfortable where I am. But 20 years ago, I would have heard that, okay, I'm always on. And I remember starting my business and it was like, say, I'm a brand. I wasn't only me, but I was like very professional in the branding that I felt like I'm a company, and I actually was losing it, So I mean, my personality always came through, but in business I was more like a bigger company. But actually, what is good as a business, being a small player, when you adjust yourself, this is actually attracting people who like it. And so when you said what you said before, like you're always on, for some people it could trigger, oh my god, I'm always on, and then it creates pressure. So I was thinking, what tips can you give that you can be always on, but you can be yourself? You can be professional in yourself, and so it's not like pressure that you're always on, it's like you blend that professional with personal. So I was thinking, any steps that you could recommend?
I'll hand back to Belle because I think she gets what you're coming from now. But I was just going to say, don't build your brand on a personality trait that's too heavy for you. So don't, if you're a quieter, more reserved person and you're not comfortable doing certain things, don't build your brand on the back of that. When I say I'm always on, I mean I'm bringing my best self. So I might not be coming into the office every day going, woo, 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 yay, unless there's a 2-year-old, I kind of have to. But I will leave my personal concerns at the door. Well, no, I'm mine because I'm the worst oversharer in the world. And that's actually something that I'm trying to learn to rein in, because I'm learning as more with my clients, contrary to what we're all saying here about showing up online. In a shoot, don't actually give 2 hoots about me and all my stories. And my problem is they tell me something and I immediately want to tell them a story similar to mine to show that I empathise how they feel. I don't tick any other boxes. Whatever. But yeah, I'm learning to rein that in, because I'm sometimes making it too much. I'm often making it too much about me. So my big thing this year is I went through this phase where I wasn't asking my clients enough about them. I wasn't even in a social situation even asking people, so what about you and how's your family? And it wasn't because I didn't care. I was dying to know how things are going for them. But I kind of felt like a busybody. And there's a few things I've read lately, and it might be on the people talking about this where I'm actually no, that's not how it's perceived in the outside world. People actually want to be asked, and if they don't want to answer it, they won't, they'll walk away. So make your brand, and don't look at my socials. This is a do as I know, not as I do. My socials suck. I'm the least consistent person in the world. I'll be there solidly for a month, like a brilliant, and then you won't see me for 6 weeks. It's terrible. But I don't build a brand on a personality that feels really hard for you, because you won't be able to keep that up. Everybody out there, no matter what personality type you have, and you might need to sit down with someone who is an expert in business or who is a good friend that's honest and say, look, what parts of my personality will other people love and deal with, and build on that. And that's what makes it you. We're not all going to be the same, we're all different. Build on your strength, and then it won't be heavy, because faking it with your, it's no good.
Have you got your answer, Jonah? I just mean that when for example, if I'm going to a networking event, so my clients, I'm B2B, right? So I'm business to business. A lot of people, if you're in like family photography, maternity, wedding, you're B2C, so you're business to client, right? So I am dealing with other businesses, corporate, commercial, all of that. So, for example, I am gonna, I might swear, I'm gonna still be me, but I'm not gonna be doing shots at the bar and getting legless, where I could potentially say something or ruin a potential collaboration or working relationship with someone. And I know myself and I don't handle alcohol, so I'm gonna rein that in. So, or if I go to Camera Electronic, I'm not gonna go there looking like a homeless person, right? Because I pretty much, that's how I look a lot of the time. But every time I go there, but every time I go there, you know, we've got Howard also rocking out, and you know, I want to present, because then they might ask me to speak or run a workshop and things like that. And so that, I guess when I say I'm always on, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about my future, because for me it's not just money right now. It's not just a quick win of getting the next booking in. It's actually like, what is my sustainability in the photography industry? And the fact that I've been able to change genres and it not hurt my business, and I've done it quite a few times, from strictly a birth photographer to then a photography and business coach to now a brand photographer. Been able to do it quite a few times over my career and it not hurt my business. And because I've got that consistency and that trust already, my brand is already, it's stable. And that's actually on my little point with build trust and credibility. I love that. Showing up consistently, delivering values, all of the things. I've also got on here story tell and story show. So a lot of the times we think we just want to show these pretty pictures, but really it's about connection. It's about storytelling, a little bit about us or about our clients, to really get people to connect and build those amazing relationships.
Right. Thank you so much for that.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes, the
Okay,
gorgeous
we've got two
women in the
still.
back. We'll go you and then, yes.
Shirley.
Shirley?
Shirley?
Yeah, okay. So the first thing we need to do is tell people we have to have an email list or a platform to host emails. So whether you use a free one like MailChimp or you invest in a great one like Flowdesk, and then we need to tell people about it. And I don't know about you, but I don't like to give my emails out to any company or person. So we want to entice people. So we can do that with something called a lead magnet, which is a free deliverable or downloadable, or if you want to offer like a 10%, I'm always like, quick discount, 10% discount code when I'm buying something, because I always want to get a discount. So this is probably a conversation for Liz, but yeah, it's something that we create. So we want to give value for free in order to like receive that. So you could run a giveaway, for example, and collect emails. You could do a free ebook or a free, discount code. It depends if you're a product or a service. So, Josh, you're like, tell. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think with email lists, that's how you kind of get, when people are already in your sales funnel, and it's usually reselling to people or people who already kind of know you. It can be a good way of, if say someone has come through the lead magnet way, or if they've got a download, they've maybe seen you somewhere, of just reminding them that you're there and this is what you do and this is very fabulous and this is your expertise. But it's not where you're going to get necessarily new clients from. That's where things like your socials and networking and collaborations are going to be much more powerful.
Okay, I'll let Seng just switch.
You can also chat with feedback, ask like what are some lead magnets
Or ways for me to grow my audience. And yeah, in the beginning, that's exactly, I did like a free photo shoot. And another one that's really good to build your social media as well as your email list is if you actually have, like I know Anna is a pet and lifestyle photographer, and one of the things that like we've talked about is like collaborating with people who also have her ideal client. So you might have a photographer, you might have someone that sells dog collars, you might have someone that sells natural dog treats or dog beds or dog toys, and then you all get together, and then it's like, you would have seen those, like you have to like, every single Instagram account, and then you have to tag, and then you put in your email address or share it or whatever it is. So that's a really good way to tap into a lot of people all at once.
All right, we're going to move on because that was a very big topic, which was awesome. Sorry, yeah. Go.
I guess hear a lot of things out there. The brand should align, especially the one thing about align with your personally, so we can sustain it. However, this time where I can use this for 10 years now, over the last couple of years, I
I think totally, yeah. I think what we were talking about, like showing up as authentic, that's maybe more personal brands. Would you say that? Yeah, so it depends on what the overall brand is. Yeah, so luxury, if I think you can make it work if it's something different, and yeah, it doesn't have to be just you if you want your brand to be something different. Like, if you just look at other companies that are out there, not everyone is their brand, but they still represent your brand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like I kind of, rather than I used to feel like I was my business,
Yeah.
I now feel like I'm just acting as a ship, I'm running the ship, separate.
Yeah, I think that works as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally, you can do that.
I really like the separation, but I just feel like that, I think we've worked really well for authenticity on people's selves into their businesses. But yeah, I just wasn't sure if I could
Yes.
And that's, sorry, as long as you're consistent, so it's not confusing the audience. So if you are going that luxury path, then everything that's going out is consistent with that brand identity. You mentioned about doing like authentic stuff on TikTok, and authenticity is definitely the word for 2025 in terms of social media now. It's been shown in stats that authentic stuff is definitely reaching its audience more. But if you're going for a luxury brand, you just need to be consistent. So I'm definitely doing things too authentic on TikTok because that is going to clash with that luxury brand, where everything should be polished and whatever you're putting forward is very much in keeping with those words, like you were saying before. You've got words like luxury, aspirational, then everything you're doing should be in line with that. Whereas Bells will be quirky and creative, and that's what really works with your audience, then she's going to be consistent with that.
All right, we'll move on now. So, knowing when and how much to spend on advertising your business can be quite daunting when starting out. Josh, what are some of the common pitfalls to avoid when running paid advertising campaigns?
Yeah, paid advertising is pretty scary, isn't it? It's a lot to do, and it's yet another money sink, like another one. So I recommend definitely focusing on organic first to start off, because you want to test the waters, right? You want to know if this is going to work. Are you getting leads? Are you getting clients? Are you getting feedback on that? You want to know you're fishing in the right pond before you start throwing more money into it. So I'd say first pitfall is doing it too early. Where paid advertising and marketing sits in when you're building out your business, it's a bit later on. So before that, the first thing you want to do is nail your brand. Everything Belle talked about. Because that sets the foundation of your marketing later. It's because the branding will tell you your messaging. How do you speak to people in the ads? How do you show up? If you're selling a product, you also want a sales pipeline in place first before you're advertising. So if that's your DMs or a landing page on your website, whatever it is, you want somewhere for the ads to land on for them to be effective. So yeah, that's the first pitfall I'd say. The second pitfall I'd say is you need to find a purpose for the ads. Just one thing. Are you selling a product or a service? Are you advertising to get leads, to get people to follow your pages, to subscribe to your podcast? Whatever it is, you need a clear singular goal for the ad to then do. Because there's so many times I click on an ad and it's taking me to an Instagram page and there's nothing there. Like it's just 4 posts, not really a bio, and I'm like, what did the ad do? Yeah. If you're gonna spend money on it, it needs to have that purpose. A third pitfall I'd say is having an ad that's just weak. Like, don't underestimate the power of a creative and compelling ad. Once again, if you're going to spend money to show an ad to people, you want it to look good. Like, if you have an ad that's shit, you're just wasting money. So make sure it's looking really good. Get the visuals. If it's your photography you're showcasing, showcase your best imagery. The words that go along with it as well. What messaging? You want it to have a clear call to action so that people know what to do with the ad. So yeah, well, I'd say like when to start doing paid advertising, it's when you have all of those things ready first. Those will give you a good platform and foundation for then your ad to actually have effect and for efforts to not be wasted. As for how much to spend on advertising, I say start low and slow. You can with Facebook advertising, or it's called. You can go as low as $2 a day, and try that out. You know, let it run for a few weeks, see how it's going. Is it getting any traction? You can adjust the images. You can adjust the text. Play around with it at just low investment first. And then if it's getting traction, people are responding to it, if they're clicking on the ad, which your metrics will tell you, then you know, okay, this might work. Then you can raise the budget a bit. Go $5 a day, go $10 a day. I think a lot of companies, most people, the range is usually between $2 to $50 a day per month. So yeah, I hope that answers the question of when and how much. But I'd also like to emphasize that paid advertising is only one part of your marketing. Amongst many things, there's your organic marketing, there is your sharing on Instagram or LinkedIn, there's your website. That's also part of your marketing. Any podcasts, any videos. So definitely have a lot of things, and don't put all your eggs in one basket with paid marketing. It's a very powerful tool. Like, you can reach so many more people than you can organically, but don't rely solely on it.
Outstanding. We've got any questions, or anyone else want to add to that? Have any of you tried paid or do paid advertising?
Can I tell you a fail story? I'm going to share with you a fail story. So, as a brand photographer, a lot of what I show is studio photos, so strobe lighting, like quite polished. And I decided to go over to Melbourne and rent a New York warehouse style brick, very industrial, very like Friday studio, if you guys know that here in Perth. And the sales page of the ad, or where it sent them to, was very industrial. So it had the graffiti, it had all of that. But of course, people were going to my Instagram on my website and seeing all the clean white pictures. So when I got all my clients for their minis, everyone was like, so where's the white, clean, I want white with a desk? And I'm like, oh. So I wasn't very clear on where I sent them, which is exactly what you were talking about afterwards. They were just looking at my, my portfolio and going, it doesn't match up. So don't do that. Learn from my mistakes.
And just building on what you were saying actually about the kind of sales floor part of things, I've seen people looking at it like senior, there's just spent like a lot of money, like thousands of dollars on Meta ads, Facebook ads, and they said, but I'm getting quite clicks on the website, but I've only got one sale, or I've had no sales. And then they look at the website and it's just not selling well for you. So there's no point spending money at the top of the sales funnel in those ads if the thing you're pointing them to isn't going to close the deal. So paying even more attention to that kind of closing the deal part of the sales funnel, not just on a great ad, it needs to be a whole process in order to be effective. So definitely pay attention on what you're getting out of that. And I definitely agree about being quite specific. I think you both mentioned this about being quite specific. We're so bombarded. If we're relying on people doing some research before making a sale, it probably won't happen. We need to only spoon feed them. This is what you're getting, this is what I'm selling. It's super clear, I'm the person you need, I'm fantastic, here you go, give me cash. It's a very super, super clear.
One more thing to add. I think of paid advertising is it's a setup for you to knock it out of the park. So you need to be ready to knock it out of the park. Have those things.
Natalie?
Do you have an example of, for example, I came to you and said I'm a photographer, family portraits, studio. What should I do? How do I start? What kind of ad would you recommend?
That would be a big answer because you'd have to dive into your strategy and everything behind it. What are you currently doing? What are you currently doing that's working? What are you not doing? It would be a really big dive in because there's no one size fits all solution to it. It depends what you're selling and who you're selling it to, where you're reaching them. So it really varies depending on what you want to do.
I've got to get that. I will definitely get that to you, Mark. Are there any terms that we're talking about or saying that you guys aren't familiar with? Please ask, because sometimes we use jargon, and then if you're just like, what the fuck is a lead magnet? Like, just ask, because that's what we're here for. But I also want to say, if you're about to run an ad, and you know it better than me, but when you go, you can actually look at, like, say, Perth wedding photographers and see all the Perth wedding photographers who are running ads, how long they're running them for, what's kind of, so you know if they're running an ad for a long period of time, you know that's going to be working. So I would be looking, and even when you're stalking other people on Instagram seeing ads, what catches your eye? What stops the scroll? And I would even do some sort of, what's the word? Trial and error, where you have the same ad, but you might have the same copy, change the photo. Or you have the same, you might try a different hook. And so a hook is something to get people to stop and see which one works. And you've got to run, you would know this, but you would need to run something for a good period of time, maybe 4 weeks at least, to see if there's any ROI or like what your return of investment is, and your clicks per, what is it? Clicks. Yeah. I go over that. It's too much. But for you, Natalie, Jai Long does a really good digital ads short course, and it's super cheap. Like I would just do something like that. Yeah, he's great.
But I guess out of jargon, could you give an example
Or,
yeah, what would be
anything they use on Daily Mail, like, you know, Daily Mail is great. Anything like new idea, you know, how to lose like 20 kilos in 2 hours. That's a good.
Something to get people to stop scrolling to and look at your thing.
So what would be something you would suggest people to, yeah, photography related? What would
Okay, because I was talking to Shirley just now about her landscape photography, and she's taking photos of locations around WA. It could be something. Bring WA to your home. Yeah.
Like my top 5 secret wedding locations, something like that, or how to have a wedding elopement on a budget in Perth, West Australia, or something like that. Just like anything that you think your ideal client might need to know. What problem are you solving? What are they? So you always want to, and this ties into the client experience as well, you always want to preempt whatever problem that your clients might have along the way. So for example, in my client journey, I'm thinking about all the things that they will need to know before they get to me, right? So they need to know how to pose, they need to know what locations I offer, they need to know how to calm their nerves before a shoot. They need to know what makeup artist to use, what hairstylist, when to tan, how to make sure their feet aren't bloody black, so I'm spending hours photoshopping. They need to know all of this beforehand, and then I think it's an email that goes out a day before. They'll get like where the closest coffee shop is. How, you know, they'll have my phone number so they can text me if they get there early, like that sort of thing, like what music they need to download. So think about your clients and what are the problems that you're solving in the journey along the way. So if they're at top of funnel, so you're dealing with cold clients, people that have never met you before and they literally just got engaged, what do they need to know before they hire a wedding photographer? Right? So think about all of that. You're solving their venues, what florists to use. Do they need a photographer and a videographer? Or can you like, you know, is it budget friendly? Like think about all of those sort of things.
Is that something that could also kind of into kind of, you know, pop up like telling you, like spots or use sessions as well?
Yeah, so that's called turning it into a lead, right? Something to attract people to give you their email.
No, I was just going to say, we mentioned a few things like you can go in and you can have a look at other businesses' ads and see what they're advertising. I just want to put a word of caution out there. We've already spoken about our different personalities, our different brands. We might both photograph newborns or we might both photograph families and pets, but we may have very different businesses. They might be identical, I mean, you know. But just grain of salt. I'm really always interested in what other people are doing and what's working for them and all those sorts of things. But then you've got to put your hat on, and I can't go and sell something that someone else might sell. Like luxury in me, I'm not very glam. So you know, if I'm trying to sell somebody a really glamorous experience, it's not going to come off very well. My business doesn't exude glamour. It might exude a little bit of luxury, but it's a very family-based joy and love luxury than it is a Gucci luxury. So just keep that in mind when you look at other businesses. But the little tidbit that we glossed over there, marketing isn't a dirty word, and I love now when I go places or when I click on something or, you know, all of a sudden people are like, oh, I searched for running shoes and all of a sudden everything I see on Facebook is running shoes. I actually don't mind that now. What I find myself doing is what made me click on that. What made me not only click on that, why have I suddenly bought myself, and I forgot what the green tea matcha was that I bought the other day when I don't even have any money, and I spent $115 on this green tea stuff that's coming to my house. I can't wait. Not only did I get sucked in, I went to their website, I read a few things, I purchased. So I went beyond the top 5 wedding destinations or the top 5 whatever. They got me in dark and cold, and I sat back and I was like, not only purchased, I'm excited and I can't wait and I'm looking forward to this product. And I think back to what the things it was that tweaked in there. I'm not a great marketer. I've got someone who also helps with my marketing. But even like, you know, I went to Crown last night and we pretended to live it up like we were very wealthy, and we got upgraded to a suite, and I was just like, this is cool, and I was looking at all the experiences that I loved, and that was the one thing that let it down. And I was like, and how much that sucked in. So when you look at ads, be inspired by them, but relate it to your business. So go, okay, so that's been going for 6 months for that business, so it's doing something for them. But it might be an awareness ad. So we've spoken about some ads here that they're an awareness ad. So their purpose is not to get a booking. It is to keep the business front of mind. So if you go in and you copy this person's ad copy and you put a bit of your flavour on it and you don't get any bookings, you're like, well, why were they doing that? It might have been the $3 a day remarketing ad that was going to someone who made it on their website to keep them top of mind. It wasn't the one that got particularly contact me or something like that. So just be aware that there's lots of different things out there. But the biggest thing that I'm finding fun now, because I am a marketer's trainer, I get sucked in with purchase. I try to see, well, what did get me sucked into that? And you know, just go down that path. I don't have all the answers. I spend an inordinate amount of money on ads, and some work and some don't. And some work this week and then you turn them off for various reasons, you turn them on in 3 weeks, and they don't work. So you have to, it is a game of averages and numbers somewhat, and it's been able to sometimes move quickly. If an ad's not working for me within 4 weeks, no, it's gone within 5 days if I'm not seeing some sort of thing going. I'll give it the 5 days, but yeah, so yeah, there was a lot of little tidbits in there. Remember that what works for business A doesn't work for business B, and have a bit of fun when you're out there in the wide world. What stopped you on the street? What made you look at a window? What made you, when you scroll, why did you look at that? The images that I love that people buy, I'm constantly being told are not right scroll stoppers. They're not the ones for the ads, so try something different.
Okay, I think we'll finish on that. So we're going to do the elephant in the room now. Something that Liz taught me. This is going to be open to every one of the speakers. So the discussion of AI with photographers can be quite a touchy subject, but using AI to keep your business organised can greatly enhance productivity, streamline operations, and improve decision making. So what tools or techniques do you recommend for staying organised and prioritising tasks? And yes, I did use ChatGPT to help me write these questions tonight. And on a fun thing, I actually had a client find me through ChatGPT, so don't forget that one. I had a client use ChatGPT to find photographers and found me. Yeah.
That's actually really interesting. So there's some rumours out there that SEO is dying, and we are going to have to learn how to show up in AI chatbots when prompted. That I don't know anything more about it other than I read that somewhere and I good.
Another thing.
But I like an AI, aside from it being bloody scary, how good it can actually be, to when we all got moved to digital. Do you remember? Oh, this is the death of this is the that, this is the whatever. Our role as photographers or videographers may change and what we're perceived, but I think there's always going to be a need for us. But for me as a business owner, if there is an AI tool out there that is going to make my life easier, that is going to help me word my emails to clients that are upset with more empathy, I'm going to use it. It's going to, if I can put in my entire sales funnel emails and say, tell me some tidbits, I'm going to use it. If I can run an entire session through a photo and it comes out and all I've got to do is go in and remove one pimple, I bet I'm going to use that. Anything that saves me time and effort, of course I'm going to do that, because that means I can focus on the other parts of my business that are more important, or I can go and do a puzzle and read a book, or maybe even some books. So yeah, I'm not scared of AI. I don't know about the future end of the world and taking over the side of things. I choose not to focus on that. As far as my business, I'm embrace. Anytime something new comes out, I'm like, ooh, what's it? Shiny object syndrome. But I'm like, how can I use that? What can it do for me? So I have recently changed CRMs. There's a lot of people may have heard of some of the Go High Level white label products out there. I have moved to someone who does that. I'm using the Horizon one, there are lots out there. And it was difficult. So for the first, up until about 2 weeks ago, all my ads were off, all my marketing was off, because my back end was basically being rebuilt from the ground up. I had to rethink how I ran. I went from a system called Tave to Hello Zen, which is Go High Level. And I had to change everything from how I did an invoice to, and I also used an opportunity to rewrite every email that went out there, every SMS that went out there. And I'm now, after 6 weeks of the shit show I knew it was going to be, and it being a worse shit show, and saying to every client, move to a new system, so if you get some really weird emails and texts, sorry, but that fits in with my brain because sometimes I can be a humble fool. I'm now at the point where I'm operational, but the reason I moved over to this was 2 points. One, I have staff, and this system, my emails, my SMS, my Facebook, Instagram, every type of contact point with the client is in one space. Whereas previously we had notes in Tave, we had an email transcript in our phone, a phone transcript in our phone system. We had Gmail sometimes, we had the emails, then we also had text messaging that was sometimes on a third platform, then I had Flowdesk. and sometimes the tail didn't know what the nose was doing. So I'd come in, and if I hadn't remembered to say, oh, by the way, I sent an email blast out last night from Flowdesk, they're like, what am I getting calls about? Now they can go in, well, from now on, they'll be able to go in, and anything that has touch point with that particular contact will all be there. So that was what sold me on it. But what is going to be the big difference is the level of automation to make sure that I know I'm crap at following up with people. I'm not sure that I do, and I don't do it so well. So it's going to automate some of those touch points that don't need to be personal. I'm going to have a high level of personal doing it because I know for my business it is about being personal. But there is a, hey, how did you go with thinking about, how did you go think about what we spoke about last night? I can automate it. I don't have to remember to do that. So that, for me, moving to that platform, I'm hoping might even revolutionise my business to the point where I need less staff that I have to pay, which means that down the track, if I want to downgrade my business to being a one-person one, it might still be more efficient. I might want to go bigger with more people. But yeah, so I did short-term plan to use that, and I'm also learning a lot of the editing and the colouring, and no, I don't do any colouring, so I'm not learning that. Yeah, so that's my short answer is I'm choosing to embrace it, but a bit at a time. So I'm moving, I spend a lot of time moving onto the system, and I haven't turned on anything that's fancy or AI or anything like that in it yet because I want it to function, but now I can start learning all that. So that's what
I was quite resistant to kind of getting onto ChatGPT, and it was like, oh, this thing gets to work, too many things that were very good. And then I did a little 1 hour kind of mini course with Corey, who's an AI expert, and it just changed things overnight. It made it a lot easier. And she said, think of it as another member of staff who can do research for you. So that's interesting. So I went in the next day, and at the time I was kind of thinking about doing a rebrand, and I switched over to being a not-for-profit over the Christmas break. So I ended up having like a 3-day conversation with ChatGPT. I gave it my my website address and a few of the documents, and I said, can you have a good read of this and let me know what you think? Should we do this? Should I do that? What do you think? And it came up in the end between the two of us and bouncing backwards and forwards. I came up with the answer, and it was great. But the lady who'd given me the course, one of the funny things she said was, you should be polite to AI. Apparently it's been shown that you get 40% better results if you are polite to AI. So if you please could you have a look at this? Thank you so much. That's great. Blah blah. And I've heard that from a couple of sources now, so I don't know. But she said, either way, if they do raise up and take over, I want to be in the good team.
I've always said thank you, Siri. Like I'll be like, hey Siri, can you set an alarm for 7 a.m? She goes, "Your 7 a.m. alarm." I said, "No, thank you." And she goes, "You're welcome." And then everyone who hears me, they go, "Did you just say thank you to Siri?" I'm like, "I just can't help it because I asked you, but I've never thought to do it."
Didn't Sarah Connor warn us about this sort of thing?
But the one thing that I just recently switched on, and it's been a game changer for me, I do quite a lot of my advisory sessions over Zoom, particularly if people aren't local. And you can switch on Zoom where you can record it, and it automatically sends you an email with a summary of what you've talked about, and it was amazing. It's like, here's what to do. It's like, we just had a normal conversation for an hour, and but it's right, this is what we're going to do next. And you just talked about stuff, but then it said at the top, this is what you agreed are the next steps, and what the to-dos are, this is what we talked about, and this is a summary, and it took out all of the kind of nonsense stuff we talked about, the personal stuff, and it just had the really important bits and pieces that we put in, and I was like, whoa. And because it emailed it to me immediately after the setting up on the settings, so it would just email me straight away, I can then have a quick read of that and forward that straight on to the client and say, here's a nice little summary of what we talked about and what you need to do next. And it was without me having
so quickly.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
No, I said I was doing this for me. So,
Any questions? I think everyone's just like,
Information overload. Look, okay, well, look, we'll leave it there because that's been an absolutely fantastic discussion. We are looking at going to time now. What I will do, if you want to, from left to right or right to left, do you just want to let everyone where you can find them, where you can find yourselves? If anyone wants to get in touch or anything like that, go for it.
Yeah, you can go to my website. It's Alan Studio. It's ALAIN .studio or alan.studio_ on Instagram, and chat to us there. I've also got business cards. It's not easy to think of it. Spelling the name out every time.
I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, TikTok, Google. I am. Belle Vitiglione. So yeah, try and spell that one when you've had a few drinks. Just come and see me. I can hook you up.
cool. And you can Google Business One Stop Shop, okay? So it'll come up, but I'll leave a couple of cards. Mark's got the details, he's known for years. And I've tied in with a government-funded program. So if you do want any help with Facebook has been trying to make sure I'm still on time, or building a website, I can help you with that. It's super cheap and free.
My business is Lily Photography, but I don't do business coaching or anything like that. I am a bit of a business coach or a marketing expert or whatever, slut, so to speak, for a better word. So if you want to know some good people to get some excellent help from, it's chances that I've used them. No, that comes out wrong. No, I value help, and I've used, I think someone's got something they can help me with. I will pay for their services to help me. See great value in that, and it's paid me back. Pretty much everyone I've used 16 times, so I'm always up for a coffee or a chat. I'm not. These guys all have some great business services that I go for. But if you need to chat or vent about clients, to them, I'm always around for that.
And for Lisa, just to check out some cool images as well. Right, big round of applause, please. Thank you so much for coming along tonight, sharing your wisdom and experiences. I hope everyone gets, can find something out of that. It's always good to get inspired. It's what we do. This event at the start of the year. Let's get down to business. Let's crack on with our businesses and see what we can get better. We have our next event coming up in March on Friday the 7th from 9:30 a.m. This is going to be at Heron Place. Most of you will know it's where the blind dogs get trained. It's in Vic Park. It's on our Facebook page. Humanitix has got the tickets on there to register. We do need everyone to register if you're coming along. Brett Kennett Gibson will be there to give us a lovely talk and presentation. For those who know Brett, you will understand, you'll know full well how great that's going to be, and we have a lovely breakfast. We are currently working a plan for April now, because we've had some things change, so we're just tweaking that. In May, we're trying to put together a weekend away. So this is from Friday to Sunday. The proposed date is 30th of May, so it's going to be over the long weekend. We're putting that together, we're going to get it released out there. It's basically, you take care of the accommodation. We're going to do a group dinner on the Saturday night, but it's going to be talks, it's going to be going out and photographing, doing all sorts of cool stuff, photography related. So we're working on that at the moment. We're just crossing the I's and dotting the T's, as I like to say, and we'll let you know all about that. The big one, hopefully you've all seen it, the All Off Awards. They're coming back. They're coming back earlier than last year. So to not try to clash with other events going on, we've decided to bring ours forward.
The 7th of April, don't freak out, the 7th of April is an info session. We're working on that. We're most likely it's going to be held at the State Library. 28th of April, the entry's open. We're going to give you all the way to the 8th of June before they close, and there will not be any extensions at all. We're going to do a couple of print critiques, and we obviously have the digital judging that's running between the 16th and the 18th of June. Keep an eye on our Facebooks, the newsletters that we send out. It's going to be awesome. It's the 3rd year we're running this. The State Library's getting behind it in a huge way now. You know, it's just going to be bigger and better than ever. So, other than that, thank you all for coming along. And again, just thanks to these amazing people. Thank you.